The eForm generator can be used standalone on your laptop, whether or not you're in Oscar, or you can get into Oscar and you can use the built-in eForm generator in Oscar. So we can, and I'm going to do the one in Oscar because that's probably going to be the easiest way to do it. I'll tell you right now, I actually test outside of Oscar first with the standalone generator and then bring it in. But let's go, actually, let's go back. Let's go to our administration. Let's go into manage eForms. And let's go into create an eForm and pull up the eForm generator. So this is the eForm generator. It's plug and play. It's very useful that way. It will find images that you've already stored in your image library. So if this is a list of all the images I have in my image library, which is way too many, but let's go to something that will be easy to use, like the breast clinic referral eForm. And then once I've got that, then I'm going to load it. There we go. Oops. No, sorry, I clicked twice. Don't click twice. There we go. Cancel. Okay. So there we go. That is the breast health clinic reform form. They probably got a new one because this is 2011, so it's probably an old one. And then in this, we have all sorts of pieces of information that they are going to want. So if we look at the top right here, this big square, of course, is where the address graph usually goes. We're going to fill this out. We're going to fill a few other things out. But before we do that, let's collapse the image part. We don't need that anymore. Let's name this something that we'll remember. So let's name it ARH and then breast. I tend to put underscores in between the words. There is something that happens when you export an eForm. If you've made an eForm and you want to share it with the world and you export it, any space that you put in the name of the eForm is actually going to be filled with chronologically what number eForm that is and a couple of other letters and numbers sort of things. So it makes the name of the eForm harder to read. So if I put an underscore in for the spaces, I avoid getting that confusion. All right, so we're going to name that. And then the next thing on here is, do you have check boxes for male and female? And yes, I do. So let's add some gender X boxes. And then I'm going to click here and I'm going to click where I want the X box for male to go. And then I'm going to click again on female and I'm going to click where I want the X box for female to go. Now, those aren't even. And if I, like most of us that write eForms, if I'm a little OCD, I can fine tune the inputs. So there's male and there's female, and I can align them up. So now they both are the same. And if I wanted those boxes to be a little bit higher, then I can actually shift both of those or nudge both of those. Nudge is small, shift is large. So I can nudge them up. If I shift them up, that's way too high. So let's shift them back down again. There we go. And I can also move things left and right. So if the female, I'm going to uncheck the male. So I'm just working with the female. And then if I wanted that to be one pixel basically to the left, I can nudge it to the left, or I can nudge it to the right and sort of center it a little bit. Okay, so that is the gender checkboxes. Signatures have come a long way since even this eForm generator. And John Yap will tell you that there are now ways to put in different choices for an image that you store as your signature image, or a wet signature, which is what happens here. You can go expand, and you can add a freehand signature in. Signature color will be black, no color to the underline, and the boundary. So the area that you're going to capture the signature in is a dotted blue color. Click here, and then basically show me the area from top left to bottom right that you want your signature to go. Now, this standardly only gives you this width. You can go into the code and you can make it as wide as you want. Alrighty, and then now to the meat and potatoes part of it. Okay, going back to the top right of our form here, we have a space for an addressor graph or a label, something like that. That's going to be several lines. It's not going to be a single line. So I'm not going to want a single line input. I'm going to want a multi-line input for that. And basically, I'm going to want a label for this form. So I'm going to click on From Oscar Database. And Oscar has an amazing number of different choices. But here we have the label. And now, again, top left to bottom right. So click and drag. And then I've got a text area. And when I open this up in a patient's chart, that's going to give me their first and last name, their date of birth, their address, their phone number. All that stuff is going to get popped right into the label there. Then we can go down to date of referral. So date of referral, I usually put what we call today. So when I open up the form, whatever day I open up that form is what the date is going to populate for in here. So again, if I go into add input fields one at a time. Now, last time I was here, I used a multi-line text input, and this is going to be single line. So I'm going to choose the single line now, and I'm going to choose today, and I'm going to put today right there. And then whenever you first open up this form, it's going to put that date right in there. Now, some of us, as you can see, I'm wearing glasses, so some of us have a bit of presbyopia. So if I don't think 12 pixels is high enough, I can change that to 14 pixels. If I want to name a field specifically on my own, then I will choose to create a unique name. And in fact, if I choose to create a unique name and then I put something in, it will complain to me if I didn't give it a name. And it won't let me do it until I give it a name. Now, if you are choosing something from the Oscar database, it's probably best to let the eForm generator automatically name it for you, because it will name it patient name. Patient name will come out as last name, first name, as opposed to if you choose the one below it, first, last name, then obviously it's going to come out first name and then last name. So if I choose patient name and I have an automatic naming, then I will be able to go here and put the first last name there. If you want a checkbox or an Xbox, this image is scrubbed a bit. I've taken out the original checkboxes because I replaced it all with Xboxes. So if I click on Xbox here, then I can place, I'm actually going to custom name this one because I'm going to, otherwise it'll say Xbox One, Xbox Two, that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to put abnormal screen. And when you are naming things, there can't be any spaces in your name. If you're naming things, if you're naming the eForm, you can put spaces in it. If you're naming the inputs have to be all one word, no spaces, and like John Yap said, no fancy characters. You can use an underscore, you can use a dash, but you can't use any fancy characters. So abnormal screen, I'm going to put an Xbox right there. There we go. Now, that's too low, so let's collapse this. And let's go back to fine tuning. And there's my abnormal screen. And I'm just going to nudge that up a couple. And I won't bore you with going through all of these inputs one at a time, but we've covered a single line, we've covered multiple line, we've covered Xbox. Checkboxes render differently on different systems. And because they render differently on different systems, we've tended to go away from those and to Xboxes, which tend to render more uniformly and tend to be more visible. And that's why we've gone in that direction. This has a lot of other information in it, which we would be populating one thing at a time. So for instance, if I wanted to put a box that would capture the billing number of whoever is using this form, I would scroll all the way down to current user. Now it says OHIP number because this was originally designed in Ontario, so it's Ontario Health rather than MSP. But I would use the OHIP number, current user OHIP number, and I would put that in the billing number. Oops, what did I do wrong? I wasn't automatically naming them. I was still on unique name, so it wouldn't let me do anything. Okay, so now we are back to automatic naming. Now it should let me put the billing number in. And if I wanted to put my clinic phone and my clinic fax in, same idea. I can scroll down here. And it's not phone. Phone is the patient's phone. Clinic phone. So there's clinic phone right there. And just drop that in there. I can do the same thing with the clinic fax. Okay, allergies. So we can also put other things in. We can also put in things like their allergies.
So I'd say that this isn't really for the faint of heart. It's for somebody who's willing to dedicate some time, perhaps a lot of time, to creating a form out of necessity because it doesn't already exist. There's a lot of jargon here, as you can see. The database tag names are not always obvious, like phone, clinic phone, etc. OHIP references and such. But if you do a few of these, you can get pretty familiar with the jargon, and you can probably rip the next one and the next one off fairly quickly. I think an easier way is to see if one already exists on OCUS or World Oscar, or ask oscarbc, ask a friend. I have made this mistake of actually creating a new eForm and not looking first to see that it was already made by Dr. Robertson or someone else. and waste many hours doing reinventing the wheel, literally.
Yeah. So that is a short view of the eForm generator.